your first memory of music around you?
I still remember the kind of brigas and the flurry of sangadis that my party Neela used to play.
Do you remember, having a structured practice regime?
Akara sadhakam, basic exercises, daily பாடணும்.
I also remember you've spoken about how Varnams help with breath control.
Nanilakanti Varnam. Niba niba pani re ma pani re niba ma pari ba mani pari nigari.
This Manodharmam that we talk about.
Baga mani da ba da ma paga amaga ba ma da bani da zaini re. Try to introduce Manodharma in all the fundamental exercises.
In fact, you spoke about one of Raja Sir's songs in Mohanam.
That particular phrase, which I think he has used in many songs. Dasagata. So that is one phrase that I started using in my Kalpana Swarams.
Usually when we meet a musician, we identify them as a Carnatic vocalist or a playback singer or a composer. But today we have with us someone who breaks all these boundaries and labels. He is a prime-time artist in the Chennai Kacheri season, but he has also taken Carnatic music to a variety of new formats, new soundscapes. His YouTube series Jannal Oram has captivated many hearts with his soulful singing and a storytelling that will keep you at the edge of your seat. So let's welcome and meet this ever-inspiring artist and innovator, Sikkil Gurucharan. So thank you so much for joining me today. I have actually been following a lot of your music and your content, and I must say your Jannal Oram series was much more addictive to me than any OTT series I have watched.
Thank you so much.
So I'm really excited to break down your journey and your process. You are from a musical family. So what is your first memory of music around you? Can you give us a glimpse of what it was like?
First memory of music was, of course, the sound of the flute, which was almost everywhere around my house. Even when I went for a few days for a vacation to my grandmother's house or my aunt's house, Mala Chandrasekhar's house, there always used to be the sound of flute throughout the day.
Okay.
Because they will be either practicing or I'll be accompanying them to their concerts. So that is my earliest memory of music, and I don't even remember what songs but I still, if I think hard, I will be able to come up with Karnaranjini as a raga that kind of was very frequently heard in my childhood days, because even now I hold that raga very fondly whenever I think about my grandmothers.
Okay.
Because they used to play this Vanchatonuna so many times.
Yeah.
And it's for me it's their composition. Muthaya Bhagavatarlan Tandi. They used to own that composition, the way they played, the Chittaswaram and everything. So for some reason I think Sila Ragangal, I think Karnaranjini, Kannada, Manirangu, Kamas, Kapi, Intasaukya. So initially these were the ragas, and I didn't even know these names first. So it was something magical about the melodic framework that these ragas inherently had, and the way my grandmothers, my aunt, the way they approached these ragas, especially in practice sessions at home. So I think that's where the magic happens more than the stage.
Yeah.
So that was my initial memory of music being around me.
Lovely. So these practice sessions that you mentioned, was it very organic, like you just picked up from around you, or did you have to sit and practice?
Slowly, when I started learning music, they made sure that I didn't run away from the room when they were practicing. They made sure, now you are a student, so please sit. And they wanted me to absorb as much as possible from their practice sessions, which I did. Because it's in a drawing room, you find that these musicians, their creativity is like 100x what you see on the platform, on the stage. Because on stage, they are bound by several last minute constraints, the mic system, the audience's feedback and everything. And they always have a little bit of inhibition that they usually get rid of as the concert progresses. But in a practice session in the drawing room, they are like the masters and of their art, and anything that they just try. And I still remember the kind of brigas and the flurry of sangadis that my party Neela used to play for Intasaukya and Okandade in the Korva Nanarka Kelu Pripa. So they used to come up with different korvais, different Purthams and all these sangadis, and it would be magical.
That's so nice to hear, because even I'm getting transported to that atmosphere that you're talking about, because I'm not from a musical family. So I've always wondered, what life would have been like if that was the surrounding that you were born with. And, do you feel that kind of gives one an edge in terms of the instincts you develop apart from the formal training?
Learning music was kind of a default thing for most of us, me and my cousins. So that is one advantage that we have in a family full of musicians. And of course, the other thing that I spoke about earlier is the access to music that we have around us.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to be surrounded by family members who were very good in music, and each one they were different in their approach towards teaching music. So rendu party mein they were unique personalities when it came to teaching music to me.
Right.
And my aunt and my mother. So I had the best of all these worlds. And after a point, it's just about watching them behave as musicians on stage, off stage, and then some of their personality traits kind of, you imbibe them involuntarily.
Yeah.
And then you learn on their own. That's one advice that they gave me, because they said, not as many words, but they said, you belong to a family of musicians. There is, of course, the burden of legacy on your shoulders, but you must find your own way of singing the art form, and your own way of interacting with the people. So don't kind of, mimic what we do on stage, what we do off stage. It doesn't have to be that way. So we just give you our surname, which is Sikkil, and then you have to take it forward in your own way.
Yeah, I think this message that they've given you has taken bigger forms, I feel, in the way you explore Carnatic music.
Correct.
In all its different idioms, and I feel that is, you've kind of taken their message to a much bigger stage, so I'm very happy to see that. So did they have a role to play in your general curiosity towards other forms of music? Because I definitely cannot box you into a Carnatic vocalist or something like that. There are so many different explorations you've done. So
they were fond of multiple art expressions. So be it cinema, be it comedy in cinema, musical themes being handled in cinema. So my grandfather was the one who collected kind of nice classic movies.
Okay.
And he had a nice stash of video cassettes in his library. So they used to watch these kind of movies with us, and you just wait for their nod of appreciation towards these different art forms.
Yeah.
And if they appreciate something, that we are naturally drawn into it. So party rasikarala, so this must be something different. We never boxed ourselves, as you rightly said earlier. We never were taught to box ourselves into one category. Idudha sangeetham அப்படிங்கிறது nobody in my family, they never
Very
told.
nice.
Even my guru, Sri Vaigal Gnanaskandan sir, and later on when I learned from B. Krishnamurthy sir. One aspect that I was very fortunate to find among all these people that I mentioned was that they never classified their art form as X or Y. It was never binary for them. So it was something that keeps changing every 5 or 10 years. And my party, in fact, she said in as many words that your art form will also change every 5 years, just like your lifestyle changes. So you can't say that I was the same person 5 years before. There is something that changes around you, the way you interact with the people, the way you look at life in general. That changes, and that change kind of it penetrates into the way you look at art form also. So if you're an artist, the way you sing certain songs, the way you plan your concert, the way you appreciate a movie, the way you want to inculcate a little bit of that movie into your art form, everything will happen. So I'm looking for that change in me every 5 years. So that keeps me going.
So I want to ask you about your practice. So back then, do you remember, having a structured practice regime, or was it more organic in your surroundings?
More organic. When I just started as a young student of music, my guru insisted that Akara Sadhakam and the basic exercises daily padam. Starting with and the entire sarali varisai, and then jaddai varisai,
Yeah.
and a little bit of male sthai varisai. இது பாடிட்டு தான் you have to go to the lessons. That's what he told me. So it was in that early formative years that I kind of gathered that the fundamental exercises are very important for any musician, be it an instrumentalist or a vocalist. So I still hold that dear to me, that piece of advice. And I think it was my second guru, B. Krishnamurthy sir, who opened me to the world of Varnam and how they can be utilized in your practice sessions.
Okay.
And I still remember ஏதோ ஒரு கிளாஸில் வந்து I think I came in a little early than the other students, and he said, நாட்டக்குறிஞ்சி வர்ணம் தெரியுமா அப்படின்னா, தெரியும் சார், பாடு அப்படின்னாரு. And I started singing Varnam, and you usually dismiss Varnam as the first piece, right? வர்ணம் வந்து வர்ணம்க்கு அப்புறம் கச்சேரி அந்த மாதிரி தான் நம்ம வச்சுட்டு இருப்போம். ஸோ வர்ணம் நான் பாட்டு முடிச்சிட்டேன். The entire class actually became just about that Varnam.
Okay.
And he was the one who opened my eyes to how much wealth of information the Varnam has. It's a blueprint of Carnatic music in every possible way. So you have different speeds, you have the lyrics, and you have the scope for Manodharmam in a Varnam. And he said, now that you have reached the charanam of the Varnam, Nannu brovaniku bharama nannu brovaniku. And each time I went to a Chittaswaram and came back to the Nannu brova, அவர் ஒரு மாதிரி டிஃப்ரெண்டாக பாடுவார்.
Okay.
It wouldn't be exactly a sangati. So too much of sangatis in that charanam will make it a kriti. So he used to hit that very sweet spot of not overindulging in sangatis in that charanam.
Okay.
And it towards the end, after all the Chittaswarams were done, he started singing Neraval on that.
Okay.
Which was mind blowing for me. Oh my God, I said, how beautiful a Neraval sounds in the charanam line of a Varnam. And he said, இதெல்லாம் புதுசு இல்லப்பா, என்னோட குருநாதர்லாம் அப்பவே பண்ணிட்டார் அப்படின்னு. So and such nuggets of information made me realize that unique approaches in Carnatic music doesn't have to be something that you create. You just have to look into the past and find some things that have been lost in translation or lost in time and try to revive those things. So I think since then I've been trying to sing Varnam with a little bit of Neraval towards the end. Even for the students watching this podcast, I would like to encourage them to do a little bit of Neraval even in the basic Varnam, Mohanam, Ninnu Koriyarthalum. You will find that by the time you finish the Pallavi in 2 or 3 speeds, by the time you finish the Charanam, all the 4 Chittaswarams in 2 speeds, towards the end your mind actually wants to create a little bit of its own permutations and combinations of the Charanam line. Sanutanga Srinivasa Sanutanga Shri, and you let it create those varieties of Charanam line. It becomes a beautiful practice session in itself. Right. So I have to thank BK sir for introducing me to the beauty of Varnams as a practice technique, as a tool for efficient practice of Carnatic music.
Yeah, I think that's a valuable lesson for all students because we often consider the varisais firstly as a means to an end. So it helps me get to the next stage, and the same as you rightly said, the Varnam is not given its due credit. So I also remember you've spoken about how Varnams help with breath control in one of your episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Lalgudi sir ode Varnam paadrumbodhu dhaan when we learnt 4 or 5 of his Varnams, and when I started singing in Kriti in many concerts, the third Chittaswaram of most of his Varnams, it will be designed in such a way that you cannot take your breath in any point of time.
Yeah.
So I used to sing his Nanilakanti Varnam. Ni ba ni ma pa ni re ma pa ni re ni ba ma pa re pa ma ni pa re ni ga ri ma ga ri ni ba 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 ma ga ri ma ra இப்படி வரும் அது. And the same breathless technique he would have adopted in his Kannada Varnam also. Dani sa da ba ma pa ga ba ma ma ri sa dani sa ga ma dani sa pa ma ga ma ri sa dani sa ri dani sa ga ma da ga ma pa ga ma ri sa dani sa ni sa da ba ga ma pa ga ma ri sa dani sa ye. So ella moonavadu chittaswaramu, it will have 2 avartanams of, no, you will race to finish those 2 avartanams in a single breath. So I thought Lalgudi Jayaraman sir had created this beautiful technique of using your breath as much as possible. But then even the Varnams that came prior to this, they had this technique.
Right.
And I realized them only as late as, I think, early 2000s. So that is why I had included that in the episode of Jannal Oram, where you find Hamsadvani, Saveri, Todi, Shri Ragam.
Gambira Natai also you had talked about.
Yeah,
the Kriti.
so the Kriti in that.
Yeah.
So Varnamla, the Chittaswaram, at least one Chittaswaram for 2 avartanams, you will have to hold your breath.
Right.
And that technique, when I kind of sat and thought about it, it was available in Sri Jalandharam, the song by Jai Chamraja Vadiyar. And the Chittaswaram, it is, I think it's more than 2 avartanams, 4 avartanams where you cannot take a break. And you have songs like Hara Hara Shiva Shankara of Gopalakshana Bharati, where the words are constructed in a way, the tune is constructed in a way that you have to hold on to one single breath and sing as much as possible.
Yeah.
So these are, on the surface level, these are just songs, these are just sangadis and swaras. But if you go deeper into these, and for going deeper, you need a little amount of experience in these kritis.
Right.
You find that it has more to offer. It has more techniques that you can imbibe and become a better musician yourself.
So this breath control that you mentioned, it's quite a universal subject, right?
Yep.
It's not very Carnatic oriented, because one question I often get asked is, especially from students who have other interests. So they ask me, ma'am, why should I sing Sarali Varsai, Janta Varsai? Why am I doing these Geetams? I want to sing Ilaiyaraaja songs. So do you feel there is, some level of universality in Carnatic music, and how can it actually help those who are not looking to delve into Carnatic but want to, build their musicality?
If you want to sing Ilaiyaraaja song that is breathless, go to Manilanda Kadhalandri.
Yeah.
You sing that. I've done that also. In that episode, I would have sung Manilanda Kadhalandri as swaras. Just to show that if you sing a melodic framework as just a swaram, and if you put lyrics to that, your output differs. For me personally, I was happy to sing the swaras of Manilanda Kadhalandri, the charanam.
Yeah.
Pagariga sani sariga pasani sagariga, the entire charanam in one single breath. Why? Because of my conditioning through singing Chittaswarams and Varnams in one single breath. But the same thing, if I put lyrics to it, இந்த வெண்ணிலவும் பொன்னினதையும் பண்ண 3 ஆவர்த்தனத்துக்கு அப்புறம் I gasp.
Okay.
Because this third parameter of having lyrics on top of the melodic framework and the swaras, it kind of pushes me to the edge. In Carnatic music, I find that there is a very subtle way of making you learn things. It's no Varnam says that the third Chittaswaram will help you gain better breath control. No Varnam or no Guru says that. So you just sing. Discover it as you sing, as you practice many more times. So அந்த மாதிரி பொக்கிஷங்கள் there are so much in Carnatic music. So many hidden treasures in Carnatic music that you discover only after you have traveled a certain number of years with that particular song, with that particular format. Even raga alapana. I find that when you listen to artists singing raga alapanas, they reach a certain zone where they almost forget that they have to take a breath.
Yeah.
They reach that particular zone where probably they are holding on to a note as a karvi, or they are singing a flurry of sangadis or brigas around a particular nyasa swara. You actually you marvel at their superhuman strength. They stop being human and transcend into something else at that point of time.
Yeah.
I've seen artists like Samangudi Mama, Madhuramani Iyer, KVN sir, DK Jayaraman sir, Kalyan Raman sir. They just go on and on in that particular zone. It's as if it is them and the raga speaking to each other, and there is no other factor bothering them. Not even the requirement to take a breath or take a pause, nothing of that sort. Because all the ideas are coming to them through the years of experience, through the years of practice, and they just want to give it their all. That is the power of raga alapana. And the same thing when you take kalpana swaram, sarvalagu kalpana swaram singing especially. If you take Maya Malagula, for example, pa ba da da ba ma ga ma ba da ma pa ma ga ma ga re ma ga ba ma ga re sa ni sa re ga ma pa ma ba ga ma pa ma ba da pa ma ba ga ma ni da ba da ma pa ga ma ga ba ma da ba ni da sa ni re sa ni da ba da ni sa re sa re sa ni da pa. There is a pause, but there is no breath. So this is how Samgudi Mama used to sing his swaras for Jatarupa. And the more you listen to such wonderful exposition of Maya Malagola, of breath control, how can you not go that route? So if audiences and artists, I think if they take a leaf out of these geniuses, their textbooks, and how they reorganized their whole world of swaras and talas to make it an extension of their lifestyle, you'll find that Carnatic music doesn't have to be a separate art form.
Right.
It is a part and parcel of how you live your life.
So next we have an interesting audience question. Do you shape a raga or does it shape you?
Initially, the raga shapes the musician, and then it becomes the other way around. The musician gives shape to the raga, because once the raga enters your subconscious mind, you travel the entire day singing different phrases of the raga, and in the concert you find that, as I said before, there are certain zones in which you actually shape the raga. You would not have planned for this particular shape to come out when you're singing at home, but in the concert, at the spur of the moment, you feel that you have been given wings to explore this raga in your own way, in your own manner. So I think, first when you're learning a raga, the raga kind of guides you, it shapes you. The way you learn the ragam, the way you learn the ragam through songs, and then you start singing the alapana and start exploring the raga on its own with the power of the notes. And then you start shaping how you sing the raga, how much time you have to sing the raga. And that all these things help you shape the raga.
And this Manodharmam that we talk about, I think it's like swimming in an ocean, right? So initially, the only goal is to survive and to get through it somehow without collapsing. But as you go forward, you start enjoying the process. So when does that transition happen? Like, did you ever have that period where you were scared to survive through an alapanai, or you were struggling to survive through the kalpana
Absolutely.
swaram?
Even now I have that. Okay. So as you rightly said, it's an ocean, and for a long time I couldn't understand why people are using this analogy of ocean for Carnatic music. சங்கீதம் வந்து ஒரு கடல், ஒரு சாகரம் அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறாள். Said, it's huge, I accept. But the real meaning of that word, it hit me only when I started exploring the world of raga, alapanas and swaram and neraval. Manodharma, for me, I don't remember asking my guru, sir, can I learn Manodharma?
Okay.
Because in my head I can already hear his answer saying, if you can learn to do something, it is not Manodharma.
Okay.
So you have to experience the process of going through Manodharma, and the only way you learn Manodharma is by singing it. But Manodharma, as much as it's an ambiguous territory, as much as it's a very random way of teaching, the techniques that you can adopt for a better Manodharma output are all back in your fundamental exercises, what we spoke about. Probably to reinvent the wheel, I would say, rather than waiting for the student to completely finish the entire spectrum of Varnam, Kriti, Javali, Tillana, and once you have learned like 400, 500 Kritis, now you are ready to do Manodharma, or now you can venture into singing Alapana. Try to introduce Manodharma in all the fundamental exercises.
Right.
For example, even a very simple tweak of the rules of Sarali Varsai. Why not have multiple ragas for Sarali Varsai rather than just sticking to Maya Malagola when you practice? Take the same Sarali Varsai and introduce Rishabhapriya in it or Hemavati in it, and try to find out if you can go the entire Sarali Varsai, Jantai Varsai, Alankaram, Melsthai Varsai with Hemavati.
Okay.
And that is one little Manodharma input that you can give yourself. The same way singing Neraval for a Varnam, and trying to find out if you can sing the same Charanam Sanutanga Shri, the same charanam, singing Kalpana Swarams for the charanam, but in a way that does not repeat any of the Chittaswarams.
Right.
So if you find yourself singing a phrase from the Chittaswaram, stop. Go back to some other phrase which will be unique that has not been explored in the Varnam yet.
Yeah.
So going back to the drawing room, that's what I keep insisting and reiterating. Going back to the fundamental lessons, that will give you enough scope to work on Manodharma. And Manodharma is something that improves as you sing. It can be singing in your room, in your practice session, and singing in front of an audience. You'll find that the inputs that the audience give you, the inputs that your accompanists give you. I've had several examples where while singing some Rakti Ragas like Edara Gaula or Yedakula Kamboji, I sing a certain phrase depending on my Manodharma at that particular moment. The violinist will do the same phrase in a slightly different way. And later on I learned that is how that phrase has to come out.
Okay.
So I adopt their approach then. So it's all about on-the-job training. You work with people who are worthy enough of training you on the job, and you learn to become a better artist.
So I think one important thing about Carnatic music is the listening, right? So listening to a lot of masters. So I think what you mentioned about the basic lessons and the importance of that also would be required for sharpening the ear enough to be able to absorb what they have to offer. So what is your advice to students on that to kind of sharpen their ears to the 12 notes? Because that is the only constant across music. So what would you say about that?
See, Kelvi Jnanam, this is something that even my grandmothers and my gurus have all, they had it as an unsaid or an unwritten rule. For every student of music, as I said, the moment this magnitude of the ocean hits you is when you find that you have to listen to many more artists. How do these swaras sound when people sing? And you can see these swaras in the raga list that you have in Agana Mridabodhini. You can see the numbers related to these swaras, and then you can see in the notation for Arul Shaya Vendumaya in Rasika Priya, you can see how the swaras are written. And from for Sa, what is the weightage, how many measure of time that you have that Sa, and everything is there in the rotation. But then the moment you start listening to these swaras from your gurus, from other artists, that is when you actually imbibe the true nature of these sounds. It stops being a swara and starts being a sound. And sound always, it kind of inspires you, and you look for that refined quality in a sound. So what differentiates a student from a performing artist is that refinement in sound. So the way I've been singing Rasika Priya when I was little and the way I'm singing Rasika Priya now, there's a world of difference. Very interestingly, I think me and my good friend Kunnakudi Balamurali Krishna, we both used to learn from BK sir. And for many classes we have found that Nerval Parrabodu, or even one Sangati that he used to sing in of a Kriti that all of us know, probably take Nadachi Nadachi of Tyagaraja. Though Uru Sangati Parrabodu, something will be different. We would sing the same swara formation, but the way he sings will be different. And we used to, without any shame, we used to ask him to sing it again and again.
Okay.
And we used to take on this challenge as to what is it that he's singing differently. We could have easily asked him for the swaras. No, but we didn't want to do that. So it's just, we wanted to keep on listening to that same phrase again and again and find out what is it that is special in the way he's singing. So, and we were able to crack it in the end. And we were able to find where we were falling short.
Right. For me, peculiarly, it happened in a different way. So when I was doing my engineering, so we were part of this music club, and we had music nights and all of that. So we were listening to a lot of Rahman songs, Ilaiyaraaja songs. So we would be part of the chorus. So first year students are, not given the full-fledged song and all of that. So we are part of the chorus and there are some harmonies and all of that. So we would, listen very keenly to find out the least heard part in the song. And of course, there's all the instruments going on, and through that you have to hear, one small note. So I feel that somewhere has been an unexpected game changer for me. And we will sing it as if it's the main part. We will put all our life into it, and that I think, as you rightly said, the aspect of trying to just purely listen by ear without engaging any of your other faculties
Absolutely.
Really helps. So since you spoke about sound, I want to ask you something. So what do you think is the sound of Carnatic music? Because this is something that a lot of people have misconceptions about. There is there supposed to be a certain type of voice or a certain type of accent? So there is a lot of, gap, I feel, in the understanding of what is a good Carnatic sound. Of course, it's subjective, but what to you is a good sound in general while singing, and how do you adopt a different approach between Carnatic music and, say, a film song? So how does your voice technique change and your approach change?
The lifeblood of Carnatic music is the way swaras and gamakas are used. So there is no one right way to use gamakas. Of course, there are the Dashavida gamakas, as you know, and each song has different types of gamakas, and no student is taught that this is the gamaka, this is the name of the gamaka that you're singing.
Right.
So as I said, listen and sing. That's all they are advised to do.
Yeah.
But then the sound of Carnatic music, it is largely influenced by the way you link the swaras that are present in a raga. So the basic starting point for Carnatic music, of course, is the swaras. And the swaras, the relationship between the different swaras, the different swarasthanas, the different types of swaras, and how they communicate with each other. How much of sa falls onto re, and how much of re goes to ga in certain ragas. And in some ragas, you find that ga starts in re and then goes to ma and comes back to ga. So in the Mari, I know I'm decoding these swaras. It's not meant to happen, but still, just to give a perspective, the way gamakas work inside every ragam, and that is the final step before it takes the help of lyrics and becomes a song. With the lyrics, it can become a Varnam, it can become a Kriti or a Javali or a Tillana or a Tirupugar, anything. But for that to acquire the final format, it has to go through the processes of becoming, starting with a swara and then becoming a gamakam and then becoming a melodic framework using those gamakams and all the pushes and pulls and the oscillations in between and ornamentations. So that will give a very unique sound to your music. So if you take film music, the same gamakas will be used in a different way. There'll be more notes which are straight and flat. If you go to Hindustani music, gamakas are used in a more different way. So that gives a very specific sound to these music styles. Folk music. And if you go to Tala to Padalgal, or even if you go to Kuttu Pattan solrom, if you go to Nattupura Isai, ellathikume the driving force is how they use the swaras and how much of gamakas these swaras are able to carry in those particular specific styles of music. That is the sound of music that we have to observe first, rather than defining that this is going to be the sound of music.
Yeah.
I think the definition is merely an observation that you have to do.
How do you build the stamina that you need to perform so many concerts and practice and all, your voice appointments? So
Depends on your lifestyle. So once you turn 30, you will have your own set of rules of how much activity you do on a daily basis, your food intake and the habits that you have. And it'll all define your personality, it'll define your body structure. Similarly, it'll define your voice structure also.
Are you very mindful about how you use your voice throughout the day?
Yeah, I am. So this podcast will probably be the maximum that I have spoken for today, probably for tomorrow also. So unless, if you have a concert, for me, it strains the voice box if I speak too much before a concert. I was actually a radio jockey once for this satellite radio called World Space. they had a 24-hour Carnatic music channel called Shruti.
Okay.
And I was very happy to be part of their team as a radio jockey because I got to present Carnatic music in a radio station. And it hit me hard when I had a concert that evening.
Okay.
Because in all my josh and my enthusiasm, I was able to do it from 11 to 1 in the morning. But then at 6 o'clock, I thought my voice was perfectly fine. But then the moment I finished the Varnam, I was able to notice cracks in my voice. So I feel speaking a lot for me during the day of a concert, it is a huge deterrent for my voice. And as I said, I go back to silence. I go back to staying hydrated as much as possible, even after a concert.
Yeah. Do you do any specific warm-ups or exercises on a daily basis?
Warm-ups in the sense, traversing all the octaves that I'm comfortable with. Your voice tends to thicken when you wake up.
Yeah.
So at that point of time, it is probably a good idea to delve deeper into the lower octaves. And as the day progresses, as your voice box opens, as the muscles become more flexible, you try to push air towards the higher octaves. And one technique that I can tell others also is the way you can probably combine the male sthai and the kir sthai verse that you have in Carnatic music. So, sa re ga ma pa da ni sa 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 da ni sa re sa ni da pa sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. If this is the first male sthai verse that you have, you will observe that every subsequent verse will hit one note higher. So re ka pohun ga, and similarly the kir sthai verse, every subsequent verse will hit one note lower. So combining these two, it's a good practice technique for you to probably have. Maybe let me choose another ragam. In Kalyani, maybe the same thing. It goes on. So you actually don't even wait for that verse to finish. It becomes the last section of the male sthai verse becomes the first section of your kir sthai verse. So again, taking back to when I told you that the fundamental exercises, they don't have to be the same.
Right. Yeah.
Like it was
This
printed
is a form
in the
of
book.
Manodharmam now.
It's a Manodharmam. So there is so much Manodharmam hidden in the fundamental textbook. So I found that this is a great way to use your voice opening the day. So why don't you combine male sthai and kir sthai in different ragas? Maya Molagal Parambodu, the Rishabam is Shuddha Rishabam. But for Kalyani, the Rishabam is Chatushruti, so a little higher than that. So naturally your voice will be straining in a good way to reach the upper octave of Rishabam. Similarly, the lower octaves of Devatam and the Shatshruti Dev and the Chatushruti Devatam, Shuddha Devatam. So the ragas itself, they have a very beautiful practice technique if only you know how to open them that way. So this is one technique that I follow in different ragas. So goes on like that.
I really like the idea of balancing it out, the lower and the upper ranges, because I think there are a lot of people who focus more on the upper range, and that impacts the overall base of the voice.
It happened to me in a concert when I think I was doing a Jugalbandi with a Hindustani musician when I was barely 20 years. It was at a concert in Coimbatore. My voice conked off before the concert. And I was very confident of singing that particular concert because the Shruti for that Jugalbandi was C. And I usually sing in D. And I was like, okay, my voice is not fine, but anyway, I'm going to sing in a lower octave. I'm going to come up, I'm going to come out in flying colors. That's what I thought. Strangely and ironically enough, in that concert, I struggled to sing in the lower octave. The more the concert went ahead in time, I was struggling to even maintain that Shajamam. And it was a huge learning curve for me. And I realized what a mistake I had made by thinking that my voice will be very convenient to sing in the lower octave when I had a bad throat.
Yeah.
It was the reverse actually.
Okay.
The more I sang, I was able to hit the upper octaves easily, but even sustaining Sajamam was a challenge.
So we'll take an audience question next. Do you sing the same way in a recording as in a concert? Do voice techniques vary in them?
Voice techniques don't vary, but in a concert, I think you project your voice more openly, I would say, because a concert space is quite different and each concert space is different, I would say. Singing in a temple, singing in a marriage hall, singing in a closed auditorium, an intimate space, an auditorium which is seating about 1,500 people, and every different situation you use your voice differently. But in a studio, it's all about how much you sing, how much volume you give, and it's regulated by the sound engineer who's sitting on that side of the glass, and how much you hear on your headphones. So that's all you have to worry about. But a live concert in a live space, your voice gets projected differently, and it's all about a process of learning how much to hold back and how much to project, even in a live concert. Sometimes you find that the feedback system is not up to mark or as much as you expect it to be, and at that time you try to use your voice in a different way. So live concert is highly exciting, highly dynamic, and the way you use your voice is you have to keep thinking. You have to be as agile as possible in terms of your voice, and in your brain activity is much more the way you use your voice in a live concert.
So do you think in a live concert there is also a greater risk of voice abuse if you don't understand how the acoustics work?
Absolutely, yeah. So many times I found my voice going, really bad when I'm not able to hear myself singing after a point of time. At the end of the day, you have to be confident of what you're singing, and for that you have to rely on the amplification and the monitors on the stage, or sometimes these little things that can give you confidence that you're singing in the right volume. So, but most often than not, I find the sound systems, the voice kind of adjusts to the sound system that is being used to amplify your voice. You learn when you're on the game. Yeah.
So I want to ask you about a very interesting part of your journey, the Jannal Oram series. So I am a big fan, and I think it's amazing how you combine storytelling with your musical journey, and try to reach anybody. I think anybody who loves music can enjoy this. So tell me about what brought this on, what made you start Jannal Oram, how was it born?
And Jannal Oram is just like an open mic being thrusted at me when I'm sharing these ideas with my family.
Yeah.
So I thought one point of time, why not take all these notes that are in my mind whenever I heard film music or saw a great piece of cinema, and what it translates in my mind as Carnatic music. Earlier it used to be just my family who listens to these rants that I have, random topics that I speak about Kamal Haasan, about Ilaiyaraaja, about Christopher Nolan, and all these different things. So I had a good team that were encouraging enough to let me explore these topics in front of a camera, and that's how Jannal Oram was born.
Yeah, I was amazed by it. Incidentally, the first few episodes that I watched were about Ilaiyaraaja. So I thought, okay, maybe this is a series where you're analyzing his songs and connecting it to Carnatic music. And then when I went into it, I'm like, okay, he's talking about Christopher Nolan. He's connecting that to Grahabedam. He's connecting Tanam to animals. He's talking about hummingbirds. So I'm like, okay, so this is like a treasure trove of a lot of spontaneous ideas. In fact, you spoke about one of Raja's songs in Mohanam, the Ninnukori Varnam, and you spoke about how you took the Swaram section, the interlude of that, and created a Swaram section based on that.
Yeah. Ninnukori Varnam, I think the entire Charanam, it's a beautiful exercise in Jantai Varisai, I would say. In Mohanam, we don't have Jantai Varisai. It's morely with Sampurna Ragas.
Right.
But the way, if you think of the Charanam of Ninnukori Varnam, that song, and sing it as an alapana, ah, 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 so it's a way. This you can sing in different speeds. And the same thing with the another song of Raja sir, which is Vandade Kazhakku Vasal. And that particular phrase, which I think he has used in many songs, Dasaga Padari Adavarum. Dasaga Tadata. So that is one phrase that I started using in my Kalpana Swarams after that. Because you find Madhuramani Iyer, when he sings Swarams for Kapali, Papna, you will find all these phrases. Beautiful. I always feel that in Kalpana Swaram, the more you hit patterns in Swara singing, it will be beautiful to listen to. In the Mari Nariya Sarvaloga Vandir pattern after pattern. So Ade tone la I was able to hear Dasaga Gariga Sari Dasa Padari Sari Dasa Badaga Pasasa Dasa Badaga Bariga Daga Pasasa Badari Dasaga. So it's a pattern that is waiting to be discovered thanks to this song.
Yeah.
So Dasari is what you usually do. And Sariga, but using Dasaga Padari, use that as a template. Dasaga Saripa Dasaga Padari Gapasa Rigada Saripa. So you use that as a vocal exercise first, and then you try to find out how you can do Swara Puruttams using these things. And all these came through Raja sir's songs. And the way he used Amrita Varshini in one of his beautiful numbers in Agni Natchatram, Thungada Vidigal. For some reason, I always thought of this song, Thungada Vidigal, which is in Amrita Varshini, but in my head, it was always in a Vivadi tone. There was something dissonant about this raga for me. Although it is, Amrita Varshini is a pretty straightforward pentatonic ragam with no dissonance whatsoever. But the reason I heard it as a dissonant raga was because Raja sir had used the Shatshruti Rishabham in the Anupallavi, in the BGM. Sa ga ma pa ni sa sa ni pa ma ga sa. This is Amrita Varshini. Pa ma ga re sa. That re will be shown in some parts of the BGM. And that is what stuck to me. And I thought of creating a Pallavi with this ragam. Even till date, I don't know what this ragam is called. Sa ni pa ma ga re sa ga ma pa ni sa. If there is a ragam like this, I don't know.
You should name it.
How to name it is how Raja sir would name it, I think. So you don't need to name it also. I don't feel the need to name it, but I have sung it in some concerts as a Raga Malika Swaram during Pallavi. And when people ask me what ragam, sometimes they know it is Amrita Varshini, but suddenly when you sing that Rishabham, they know it is not Amrita Varshini. And when they ask me after the concert, Enna ragam, I said I didn't give the name. So I said it's like Amrita Varshini and just went back. But for me, the exercise of singing that ragam was even more than having to name this ragam.
Right.
So these are the little joys that you get by when you actually let go of the inhibitions to be inspired by whoever around you. So you don't have any bridges, or you don't have any walls that you construct in your mind saying that this is how I want my music to be, this is whom I want to be inspired by. Nothing of that sort. So every person, big or small, they have the ability to influence you. They have the ability to inspire you. You just have to be open to take those inspirations.
So we have an audience question now. What is the conviction that you picked music as your career versus a professional academic qualification?
At that time, I didn't have any conviction. It was just, I wanted to push myself and see how things worked.
Did you ever consider an alternate career?
I did. So I went to a couple of interviews also. At that time, the back office, that BPOs were a real in thing at that point of time. And I wanted to go the same route as my college mates at that time. I did try a couple of interviews, but both those options, they had the work timings as night shifts, evening shifts rather.
Okay.
So I said, if a concert comes, I won't be able to make it. And
Yeah.
the interview was over in like 5-10 minutes. And my parents were really surprised to see me back home so early after the interview.
Okay.
So it was a no-brainer at that time. That I think my father clearly gave me a instruction that why don't you try being a musician for the next 1 or 2 years. Now that you have finished your master's in financial management, you do have a fallback option. So you can use your postgraduate degree to find a good job maybe after 1 year. Just try doing what you like doing in Carnatic music. And that gave me a lot of conviction. So when you are in doubt, when somebody like your father says that, do this, I'll have your back or something like that, it gave me a lot of courage and conviction, and said, okay, anyway, if it's not going to be 1 year, maybe in 2 years, I'll definitely know whether I'm cut out for this or not. Because at that point of time, many of my musician friends were also doing a day job.
Right.
So I thought I will eventually end up in that kind of situation where I went to an office from 9 to 5, and then I could pick and choose concerts. Slowly, 2 years became 3 years, and I found myself getting into that mold of being a full-time musician really well. And that was those 2 years was time period when I tried these different stints of being a radio jockey, being a studio assistant. And I did these nice little jobs that actually taught me a lot about music and how to operate certain music consoles in a studio, in an RJ's kind of setting, and also took care of my pocket money at that point of time.
Yeah. And you've been in the scene for a very long time now, right? Decades, I must say. So what does it take to, stay ticking for the longer run? It's easy to start something off. It's easy to get quickly popular, and, are there any qualities that one must have to play the longer game?
To know that it is all about the longer game and never about the short game. That's one of the qualities. Right now, in this age of digital creation, everything is short. It's about reels and shorts, right? Our music was never about the short game. So it was always about the bigger picture. So you have to mold yourself towards the bigger picture, and with bigger picture comes perseverance, comes patience, and comes a lot of trying situations where you lose faith in yourself, but you have to soldier on. You have to have the conviction that at the end of the tunnel there will be light, and there will be a tunnel after that light also. So you have to be open to such circumstances, such as situations, and that will actually shape you as a musician. So in my life, I've been thankful for all these opportunities that have made me question my ability, that have made me question my choices. But these opportunities have also rewarded me immensely.
So we come to an end. I wish we could talk longer, but I think today has been a very, very enriching conversation. And what I really like about today's conversation and all your, episodes and all of that is the generosity with which you share about your own journey. That is not very common in my experience. So it was absolutely useful for a lot of students as well. I'm sure many of your viewers and also our students are going to derive a lot of benefit from so many things that you've said. And if we just do those things, I think we will all, become much better in our journey.
That is alone enough.
Yeah,
but
that's a good start. Yeah,
that's a good start, definitely.
Yeah.
And thanks for having me on your podcast, Pratibha. It really was great fun talking to you, and great fun reliving some moments in my life that shaped me, and it's responsible for what I am. And all I tried through this podcast, and all I tried through my performances, is for people to get into this beautiful art form.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be connoisseurs of the art form, and they just have to work their way to being good rasikas. And that's the first step of even becoming a student, I would say.
Yeah.
And at any age, they can just come into this art form as a rasika, as a student, as a performer. So thanks for this opportunity to speak to the rasikas over there in the world.
Thank you so much.